Alright, so Only Murders in the Building has come out with season 3, and the plot for episode 1 is this. After Ben Glenroy's collapse on stage, Charles, Oliver, and Mabel pieced together the show's first days with a suspicious cast and crew to determine if foul play was involved. Alright, let's get into some of the things that happened in this episode, and the first thing I'm going to be talking about is that we get a new character named Loretta that is played by Meryl Streep. We get to see her as a kid and how she fell in love with theater only for like a scene, and then we get to see multiple montages of her as an actress and how it went for her, and let's just say her career isn't going too well. But then we get sent to the present and we get to see Oliver's auditions, but only one, which is Loretta's, and apparently her agent sent her to be here, but we actually don't see the agent, which is kind of suspicious. Loretta kind of reminds me of Oliver in a lot of ways just because of their careers aren't going the way they expected it to go, but in terms of just being human beings, I think she's obviously a better person. We actually get to go 4 months back before the whole Ben situation happens, and we get to see how the crew interacted with each other, and if there's one thing I learned from this interaction is that Ben is not necessarily the best person. And I think the way that Ben acts in this episode is kind of a commentary on how actors and actresses are in Hollywood just because of how pretentious they are sometimes. Another example is Ben asking Oliver to kick out Loretta because she messed up a line reading because she didn't know it was her turn to read. And that is a mistake that literally everyone would make in this life, including Ben, so it's kind of funny that he's trying to get Oliver to fire her for that. A funny thing that happens before the whole reading session is that Charles tries to make it seem like he's this big celebrity when literally no one in that room aside from Mabel and Oliver know who he is. And speaking of Mabel, she really doesn't want to be there, but she ends up going anyway. Also, something that I found interesting is the fact that Mabel said that she wanted to do the podcast again, even though there's no reason for her to do it. But by the end of the episode, she gets her reason. Oliver and Loretta have a lot of chemistry in this episode, and you can tell that a potential relationship could happen. But the most shocking part of the episode is the fact that Ben actually comes back to life, and he actually enters the room where everyone's grieving his death and talking about it. And he's pretty much begging everyone to forgive him because, like I said, he's not the best person in the world and he just wants a second chance. But I saw someone mention in a comments that I saw for another video that Ben's brother wasn't exactly excited to see him come back, which is very odd. So for me personally, I think he's definitely the murderer. And when we go back to the main trio, they're talking about how Mabel is actually leaving the city and how she's leaving her apartment. And when they leave the apartment, they're having this conversation in the hallways, and then it goes in the elevator. And while they're in the elevator, blood actually goes down Charles's face, which is very odd. And they look up and they see a bunch of weird colors in the ceiling. And then when they exit the elevator, they actually see a body fall down, which is actually Ben. Killing off Ben just to bring him back again, just to kill him again, was kind of stupid. And this was definitely just an excuse to bring back the crew again. But for the first episode, I thought it was decent. Not my favorite episode of this show, but I am excited to review episode 2.